Due to the extended Crown Green bowling highlights this evening, there has now been a change to our scheduled programmes as shown in the Radio Times. We can now go over to the eMopen University programming. The programmes tonight are for the students studying Unit E172, Nuclear Fusion at Home, which will be followed by Unit 472, Applied Model Making. In the meantime, we'd like to wish all our normal viewers a very good night. And once again, this tutorial is presented by Professor Tedward McSkipperton. Good evening, Professor. Is everything ready to go? Excellent. If we could ask the staff, please, in the control room, out in the shed, if they can turn the reactor on, please. We have a direct line to the shed, and the system will begin to be commissioned as soon as the switch is put on. Excellent, thank you. And we monitor the gauges now, and we see as the temperature rises as the fusion begins. Professor, is everything okay? Are the gauges going up? Right, I think we'll come back to this. And that concludes our lessons on nuclear fusion at home. We now continue tonight's eMopen University programmes with applied model making. Welcome to Applied Model Making Module 2. In this tutorial we will be applying mud from the glossy wet mud soils from the set of MIG, from the mud and earth sets. We were particularly looking at two items from this set: splashes, damp earth, and also we'll be looking at applying heavy mud entitled wet mud. In order to apply these products, we will need some old paint brushes. The older the better. Don't use your new brushes. Or some cocktail sticks or an old toothbrush to provide texture if required. And of course an airbrush. This product is best applied with an airbrush. And of course it's very messy, so a good idea to have some kitchen roll and some covering or some gloves for your hand. In order to show you how to apply these products, we will choose an old model, in this case a chieftain tank. This has been pre-weathered with some pigments to look like dried mud and splashes around the tank. And you can see we have already begun to apply the products, and we'll show you this technique later in the tutorial. We've applied it both to the wheels and to the track guards, with the thicker textures using the heavy mud towards the rear of the vehicle. And now it's time to apply the first part of the weathering material, in this case splashes. Stirring well, you'll find it's a fairly thick liquid within the bottle. Then, using a flat brush, we can apply it using an airbrush. The airbrush can be set at high pressure, and to try everything first, try it out on some white paper first, just to get the idea of what's happening and to see that you're getting the effect that you wish. A hint to applying the splashes is to start at the bottom and work up, giving the effect that the vehicle has splashed through some mud or water, with the lighter splashes landing on the top of the vehicle and the heavier ones at the bottom. Continue adding the splashes until they reach the desired effect. Applying the splashes like this does give a realistic effect of splashed mud. Any mistakes that are made can be easily removed using some white spirit and a cotton bud. This can be done before the product is dry, as it's an enamel based product. The white spirit can also be used to move the product around a little bit so that it can reach the more desired effect that you're seeking. Another way to apply the product is to use a short, stiff brush. This isn't as effective as the airbrush technique, but still can be used to some extent to your desired effect. However, I do find the best technique for applying splashes is using the airbrush and the paintbrush. Oops, don't worry too much if you do make mistakes. These can often be covered later by using the next technique of applying the heavy mud. We will now go and have a look at applying heavy mud. Well, after giving the splashes time to dry, probably by overnight, we can now apply heavy mud, in this case wet mud. We'll be applying it to more of the lower areas where mud is likely to gather as the vehicle travels across the ground or through the rivers. As before, we were applying this with the stubby paintbrushes, the old paintbrushes cut down to apply it. This is simply applied, usually straight from the bottle. However, extra texture could be added, such as small grit or something, to add further texture. It's just a matter of then stippling it on and allowing it to dry. You could, however, just slap it on. It's best to apply this to the lower areas where the mud might gather, especially at the rear where it's thrown up off the sprockets and tracks and gathered across the back of the tank. Just simply stipple it on. Giving each coat a time to dry, the effect can be built up for thicker, heavier mud. We can, if desired, add a further texture to the heavy mud by using a toothpick, a paintbrush or an old toothbrush. Just add it to wherever you think it would gather. Heavier mud is bound to gather in the sprockets and wheels, and some may even gather on the top of the tank where it's been thrown up. So, as before with the splashes, we can continue to add this as little or as much until you have reached the desired effect that you're looking for. So this has been glossy wet mud soils from MIG, from their mud and earth sets. We hope this tutorial has been of use for you today. Goodbye. And now that brings us to the end of this evening's eMopen University programming. This has been an eModels production, emodels.co.uk, for all your modelling needs. All that remains is to wish all our viewers a very good night, and please do not forget to turn off your television sets. Good night.